All right. Welcome. This might be your first time with me. My name is, Joshua B. You probably already maybe looked at my About Me video, but we are going to spend this video talking about the class, kind of the characteristics of the course, a little bit about grading. We'll talk about how I grade too, possibly. And just anything that comes to mind about the course itself. Oh, and of course, we're gonna build our own program or start our first hello world, as you would talk about, as you would say, program, which is where it's where you, whatever tool chain that you're working with, software tool chain that you're working with, it's when you say, oh yeah, I got it configured and working, and you just output hello world. Because that used to be a big deal to just get the software, just get it working to where you could run a program. Really, I mean, sometimes some of that older stuff, but yeah, we're going to look at different IDEs. An IDE, that's I, D, and E, the letters. That's an integrated development environment. That's where it's an environment where you can write code and create executables. Not only executables, but scripts, and then the interpreters that run those scripts. But yeah, let's get started on the course, and then we'll run into building our first program. You Mac people out there, I got to talk to you about a few things. Hopefully, I won't forget. I'll remember. All right. Let's see. So this is our course. And of course, from here you may see some differences as things are getting updated. But we have module 0. Kind of a learning community agreement about artificial intelligence use, guys. Let's just talk about that real quick, because I'm telling you that my skills have increased tenfold because of AI, because of all the busy work that I don't have to do and all the stupid details I don't have to learn to get a job done. So here's what I'm going to kind of just say. It's okay to use AI to solve parts of the problem, just not the whole problem. Okay? Because you're not going to get anything from it if you go down that road, and it'll become apparent and might bite you in the rear later on in your progress. So I started learning this in college, and I've been able to use C++ for just knowing C++ as a career. It's the big kahunga out there, guys. Other programming languages that use C++ or C to create them: Java, C Sharp, Java, I think JavaScript even, Python for sure is a C based. So this is kind of the lower level of programming, and if you learn how to do this, write this code, you can do any programming language out there. It doesn't matter. Just learn this one, and you got them all, really. So if you're going to put the time in, make sure you do it here. And it's a lot of work. Be prepared for frustrating hours and long days. Sometimes I put in 9 hours a day programming. Sometimes I still do. But it's very rewarding when you are able to solve a problem mechanically with just logic, ones and zeros. It's crazy awesome. It's a lot of fun. And let's get into, I'm getting off track here. Sometimes I do that. I'll have to rein myself in, but just kind of an outlook on the course. We got our modules. Yes. Uh, well, let's look at how the modules break down, because this is kind of a week by week. But what does the grade look for the whole class, and how does that all work together? And you can go to your assignments, and each module is going to take you through each of these. When you get through the modules or your homepage, you're going to have all the stuff that you need for your grade, and you can click on assignments over here, and it's going to bring up exactly everything that you have available to you that you could submit for a grade. Sometimes, like this practice exam, that's not graded, but you'll see here that 40% of your grade is assignments, and then 10% of your grade is discussions, and quizzes is 10%. Now quizzes aren't set up too bad. Quizzes are set up so that you don't have a time limit, and you can do up to 2. I suggest, even if you get a perfect score on the first one, to do the second one, because well, all quizzes are not timed, but you can take them twice. When you get to your bigger, larger exams, like your midterm and the final, where are you? Right here. Okay, the midterm and the final are the 40% of the grade. And the midterm is a performance-based, it's a performance-based exam where you write code as part of the exam. And I have scenarios in here that randomize between some different ones. They're all the same, but these are kind of the sort of things that you'll see. Oh, did I just make a mistake? Oops. Okay. We get into our final, and the final is where it pays off to take some time on your quizzes. So in the final, you will see your quiz questions. And so what it does is it takes from a bank of chapters 3 through 8. So it's comprehensive. So you see here we got from chapter 3. Oh, it looks like I've got some. Oh no, yeah, here we go. I was like, pick one question, 1 point per. No, it's all right. So chapter 3 is 5 questions. Chapter 4 is 7. Chapter 5 is 7 questions. Chapter 6 is 7 questions. Chapter 7 is 7 questions. Chapter 8 is 7 questions. So that's what you'll see on the final exam. Now, as you progress through your modules, you'll be having a quiz and an assignment, and then you do those, one at a time as you come to them. Yeah, you can work ahead. I would suggest working ahead as much as possible, because there will be those assignments that you get stuck on. If you get stuck, don't stay stuck. Come in and get help or something. Or at the very least, set up an appointment and move on to the next module. Don't let it bog you down. It can happen. Oh, and if you get frustrated on a programming problem, sometimes you just need to walk around the block, and then you're like, boom, oh, there it is. That's what I was doing wrong. So yeah, that's the course. Now it's time to have some fun. Let's actually create a program. Now for that, we have some options available for Mac, Visual Studio Code or Eclipse. So let's knock out the Mac one first, so I don't forget. I'm not going to be able to demo it though, but here's what I would suggest for a Mac is, if you're going to begin learning to C++, program C++, you can do it using Xcode. Xcode is a good platform. It's native to Mac. You can install it and write Xcode. And what I would do is I would, do a search term, create C++ project in Xcode. And that's going to give you the steps that you need to do to set up a project on Xcode so that you can compile it and then, you know, get the output. Another one that's more up to date that a lot of people have been going towards, including me, because of its extensive support with extensions and artificial intelligence fill-in, stuff like that, is Visual Studio Code. It's not to be confused with Visual Studio, Microsoft's Visual Studio. Visual Studio Code was actually bought by Microsoft because of how awesome they were. So if you are going to do Visual Studio Code on a Mac, that one I would suggest going with. And then what would be your search term? Create Visual Studio Code project. Create Visual Studio Code C++ project. C++ project Mac. Something like that. Somewhere in there. You're going to find lots of resources on kind of click this, click that, do this, do that kind of stuff. Now, Visual Studio Code and Xcode has some, you know, a little bit of some complexity, but there's lots out there that is gonna be able to help you. And of course, you know, you can set up a you know, meeting with me over Zoom, and I can look at your screen and, you know, blah 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 and all that good stuff. So that's gonna get those Mac users out there started. For us Windows users, what I suggest is Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio. Here I am already mixing them up. That's Visual Studio is totally different from Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio is a little bit more integrated into Windows software development. And what you will do is you will go down and download the latest community version of Visual Studio Code. So you can just do a search for not Visual Studio Code. Oh my God, I'm still doing it. A Visual Studio community. It's free. And so when you get Visual Studio Community, make sure you install anything that says C or C++. And that'll get you set up to be able to do what we're going to be doing today. Before I move on, no, actually, I wanted to come back and talk a little bit about grading, but I think we can do that because I'm going to show you how to submit your assignments. We can hit that. So let's go ahead, and you're going to start Visual Studio. Now you see here, right here, that I've got a window here where it says Visual Studio Code. That's the other one. That's the really newest kid on the block that does pretty much every language and has a crap ton of extensions that are nice Copilot integration. Now, Visual Studio is Microsoft's kind of flagship development environment, just like kind of Xcode is for Mac. They're very proprietary and integrated. So yeah, start up your most recent version, whatever one you're on. Depending on how old this video is, we'll see. But it's not 2022, by the way, guys. It's not. So don't think it's old. It's not. I just haven't gotten the new stuff, and this is very close to what's out there. So what we want to do when Visual Studio starts up is we want to create a new project. And we're going to want to choose C++ for all languages. platform we want it to be on is a Windows platform. And what kind of project type is? It's a console project. Okay, now the best one to choose is the empty project, because if you do the console app, you're going to get a bunch of stuff that, yeah, whatever. It's stuff that's proprietary and you don't need. We're going to be writing standard C++. So let's choose an empty project and then go ahead and click next. Okay, now here's what I suggest to people. Do not hide your project folder. Your project folder, don't hide it. Put it on the desktop. The desktop is a working space. Save your project on the desktop so you do not lose it. And I like to place my solution and project in the same directory. Now, what's a solution? A solution is basically, well, let's start with what a project is. A project contains all the code files for your program, for your executable. A solution can contain multiple programs, multiple projects. So you can have a executable project that depends on a dynamic linked library project, and so you put those all in the same solution so that the executable in this project can talk to the DLL in that project. And by the way, when you submit stuff, the SLN file or the VCX file, that's not your code, guys. All code files are code.h, .hpp, .c, .cpp, not .sln. Okay, I get a lot of submissions of these .slns. Well, just an SLN file is just, we'll look at the project when it comes up, but it just contains information about the project. Okay, I'm going to call this one my hello world. Hello world, and then right here, I'm going to go to the desktop, and I'm going to select that folder. And it's going to create a folder called Hello World. It's going to contain all the supporting stuff that I need for a C++ console executable. And I will just need to add my source files and then compile it. Okay, so here we will create our project, and then let's go in and talk about the files. Okay, here's the project popping up. It's gonna probably, if you download the free version of Visual Studio, all you need to do is create an account and you can sign into it and use it. So it doesn't cost you any money. Just create your account, sign into it. I'm gonna have some problems because, oh, now I have no idea what my account is. So the heck with it. Some of you may not run for you, but it's fine with me. Okay, let's look at what we got. Solution Explorer. That's going to hold all our project files. Now, we have source files. That's what's going to be our source file place. All right, now let's look at our project folder. What actually is created here? Oh, look at me. I've been busy today. All right, let's go to the desktop. And it's going to be the Hello World project folder. Now you see right here, VCX Proj. That just contains information about what source files are in your project. .sln. It just contains information about what projects are in your solution. So source files create projects, multiple projects create a solution, or one project is inside of one solution. So you won't be sending me these files. What you will want to do is you need to create a code file. And it's going to be where we're going to put the main function, which is the entry point for all C++ applications. It never changes. It's always called main. So we can do this one of two ways. We can go here and say add or new text document, and rename it, or name it hello world.cpp. Then we can go over here to our project and say, right click on it and say add new item or existing item, and choose hello world.cpp. Make sure your source files are in your folder, specifically probably with your VCX proj file. Okay, so that's one way we can create our code files. And once we add it to the project, then you see it pops up over here and I can start editing it. You can also add by saying add new item and giving it a name. And I'm just going to call it new item and say add, and it adds over here and in your directory. See here, new item. So if you want to be working from the correct directory with however your project is set up, you're going to want to add it from your project, unless you have enough knowledge and skill to be able to do it from the other direction, which, you know, actually, yeah, it's fine. So now I'm going to just go ahead and remove this one because we're not going to use that. We can delete it where it is removed from the operating system, or we can just remove it from the project. And that's what we'll do. So now we got this hello world CPP, and what are we going to do with it? Well, we're going to say, oh, well, for anything, any code that we write, we always have to use code that has been pre-written for us in the form of functions and libraries. Because that's what the whole language is. That's what we're using, is C++, all those prepared things. And so if we want to do input and output, we've got to say that we're using the input and output string library. And for that, with an include, we do our include, we want to include, and then we use the carets, and I say IOStream. It used to be called IOStream.h, but they dropped the H from it. Now, within IOStream is the code, but to be able to access the code, we've got to open the door to the code, which is the namespace. It used to be where we didn't put a wrapper around code in the form of a namespace, and we had all kinds of problems with variable names clashing for people that would write code using the same variable names as libraries they were including. Big problems. So then what they started doing is they started doing things like creating variable names with this underscore, and they thought, oh, that's great. If we create all our libraries with that syntax, nobody's going to use that for a variable name, and it's going to solve all our variable names problems. No, because people got in there looking at those libraries. Oh, that's cool. I like the way he codes, and they started doing underscores as well. Yeah. So they decided to solve the problem once and for all. And they decided, okay, for any code that we have, any library we have, we're going to put a door over it. We're going to put a wrapper around it called a namespace. And the namespace we're going to say for IOStream is std. And the wrapper is around it. We wrap it up. And before you can get to that code, you've got to include it. But then you got to say, oh, I want to use namespace std. Oh, it should be lowercase, by the way. And that opens the door. And I'm just using this as a reference because it's actually the code inside of the IOStream that's wrapped like I kind of showed you here. And so that opens the door so that we can actually use those tools in IOStream, and we can use them safely without name clashing with the library's variables. But in this particular example, if I wanted to use this safely, I would actually create things by saying std int I, or whatever I. That would be a safe variable creation, because I'm not just blanketly saying that I want to include all of the namespace std. That means every variable, every function. This is just saying I only want to grab the int 16 underscore 2t variable of the std namespace, and therefore I will not clash with any other variable names. Okay, we are definitely getting too involved today. I've had it. Let's quit. Okay, yeah, let's actually write some code, because a lot of the crap I'm talking about right now, yes, I know, I get it, but come back to it later when you're learning about namespaces and kind of talk and think about that wrapping thing. Okay, I'm going to show you how to write the program without the using namespace, and then I'll show you how to do it with the using namespace for our hello world. What we need is we need to create a main, and main is very standard. It always takes an integer return, and if we have an integer return of anything that's not a 0 or a 1, we're telling whatever invoked that application, well, no, that's not a 0. If it's a 1 or something else, we're saying that this program failed. So we got whole operating systems like Linux that are all based on these applications. And so we have programs starting programs that start programs. And they all report back to who started them with that return integer. So returning 0 by default is successful, meaning the program ran well. If at any point we return a 1 value after running main, or a 2 or whatever, that's all errors, telling whatever called our process errors. In this case, we're going to be Visual Studio debug will be calling our application. We can also go in the folder and double click on the exe to start the application, and we can also go into the go into command line and type it in to start the application or the executable. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a print, and for printing what we use is the cout. So, but cout is part of the IOStream library. So I need to open up the doorway by typing in std, and then I use what's called the name resolution operator, those 2 colons, and then that opens up the doorway to get to the cout, which is how we put output. And we always put string-based output between double quotes. Hello world with a semicolon. Okay, now let's go ahead and I'm going to hit Control S. I'm going to go up here and hit play. Now down here you'll see that it's building. You'll see your errors there, and then it'll pop up and it'll print what you told it to print, and then it'll return 0 back to Visual Studio that started it for us. If we go into our folder, we will see on the desktop, hello world, after I compiled it, we will see an executable in here, in the debug, right here, and I can just double click on it and start our application. Now, the reason why you just saw a blip there is because the program just runs, prints, and then stops running. So if I want to stop that so it, and this only works in Windows, guys. Macs, you'll have to do something else. This is just, pausing it. So you Mac people out there, Linux people out here, just ignore that. You don't need it. You really don't need it for what you're doing. So we can go in there. We can rebuild it now. Build, rebuild. And we can run it now. And it'll stop and wait for the key press. Visual Studio kind of injects it in for us when we hit play. and then we have to do it twice. Oh, hilarious. Okay, so this is your first program, and you're going to be learning lots more about it. But how do you turn in your assignments? Here's how you turn in your assignments. For every program that you write, or for every module, create some kind of PDF, Word document, OpenOffice even works, ODT, and you're going to create a document. Here's the key, guys. You're not going to take a screenshot of the code. No. I don't want an image of the code. I need the text. The text is important for things like Turnitin results, so I know that how original this program is that you wrote. Because guys, really, if you're using AI, I'm gonna get submissions that where I'm looking at code that I can't understand, because the AI is gonna do it the slickest way possible, and it's really obvious. So make sure that you grab the text of your code and then go to your Word document and then you paste in the text. Now, either above or below, the next thing that you do is you run your program. And you can do a keyboard shortcut of F5 here, I think. Crap, maybe I don't have my keyboard set up for it. Oh, you stupid Visual Studio. Oh my God. Okay, just hit the stupid play button. Okay, there it is. All right, so this I want the screenshot of, because what this tells me is that you did it. It works. It ran. Woohoo! Thumbs up. And I want you to test it. Try for some of the different. You don't have to go too crazy on the screenshots, but show me that it works. Well, a couple screenshots would be kind of nice. Also, that's part of your grade, is to describe how you solved the problem. I'm more interested in your comments, really, because seriously, I enjoy fun comments and annotations of your code. It's fun. I've seen the code a million times. I enjoy the comments on the journey that you took to solve the problem. That interests me. Not only is it fun, it shows me that that you're making it, that you're moving along, that you're making progress. It'll also show me where you need support. Where you need a little hint. If you're doing something wrong, or you're going in a different direction. Those comments really help me so that I can jump into kind of where you're at. It's kind of like having to jump into your head a little bit and how you're thinking, and then kind of work from there. So please annotate and document your code. Screenshot time. Now you can use the snippet tool. There's other screenshot tools. You can look it up. Snippet, just go into your window, type in SN, and you got the snipping tool. Then you say, I want a new one, and I think you can set it up differently. Drag your box, and you can grab a little bit. Kind of make it a little bit easy for me to see, though, seriously. Then you're going to copy that image. You're going to go back to the Word document, and you're going to paste the image in. So you have your code pasted as text, and then your screenshot or shots showing me that it works. And then throughout your code, or before or after, you can, I want to see annotations. I want to see what was your journey. Now it could be as simple, stupid as, I watched the video and this was not very challenging. Yeah, because that will be your comment on this one. Most certainly, yes. Or I watched the video and it helped me with this, and I was able to figure out that. I got stumped on this, and I totally had a breakdown. And then I went for a walk, and then I went to ChatGPT and I asked it about what I was doing wrong, uh, and then yeah. Okay, remember, just ask it. You know, if you put your code in there and you say, hey, what's wrong with this? What am I doing wrong with this? Oh, God, I do that all the time. It's beautiful. That is the future, guys. So I'm embracing it. And I'm even changing my instruction to embrace it. But remember, I don't want you to put the problem in to have it solved. I want you to solve the problem on your own. Maybe if you're having a weird syntax error, put it into ChatGPT. What's wrong with this code? What did I do wrong? It's very good at spotting patterns that are not correct. Where your eyes would just glance over it, it'll find it. Yeah. All right, annotations, your journey. So that, let's just pretend, is a bunch of this stuff, whatever, code, comments, or just maybe a paragraph up here, a whole paragraph up here, and that's it, or a whole paragraph down here, describing the journey. You know, you don't have to do it throughout the code, but a lot of people like to do it that way because they can describe it with their submission as they're putting in their testing screenshots or whatever. And you know, as part of the annotations, you know, put in some stuff in there. You know, maybe take a screenshot or two of, you know, the error you were having as you tell the story, whatever. Yeah, that's part of it too. All right. That's what you're going to be submitting for your assignments. And that's what I'll be grading. Grading will be done once a week. All of it will be done. On one day of every week, all grading will be done. I don't know what day it is from quarter to quarter, but I do set a day each quarter, depending on the schedule, or my schedule. Now, also, submitting your assignments. If you didn't do well, I will write down in the comments of your assignment what you need to do to get a full score. Then you just do it and resubmit it and get a full score. That's for every assignment, guys. It's always something that you can redo. It's a lot more work on me, but with programming, it gets so frustrating. You know, I just think that back and forth, you know, oh, you're having problems here, you know, do this, try that, that sort of thing. And a structured assignment submission is helpful. So I will give you what you need to redo or complete, and you submit it, and then you get full points. And you can continue to do that to the end of the quarter, which makes due dates really hard for me. Yeah, it's like stupid hard when that is allowed, because it's like, oh, you know, anything can happen. So here's the deal. The due dates, they're a measure of your success. If you're able to meet the due dates, you're being successful. If you fall behind, don't freak out. You're going to fall behind. Most students do, especially when they're learning programming. There's going to be some kind of block in the road that's going to need to be kicked out of the way. Just try to work ahead. Work ahead. Yes, work ahead. As much as possible. I'm just trying to remember if there's anything that I forgot for this particular introduction video. And I think I've dropped enough for this video. And all right, guys.